The courthouse always smelled like old paper and polished pride. Marble floors, fluorescent lighting, and that strange sterile silence. Like justice lived here but rarely breathed. Judge Raymond Tolliver sat perched high above, robes flowing like armor, eyes cold behind gold-rimmed glasses. He ruled not just with a gavel, but with ego. His voice didn't echo. It thundered. Outside those halls, on the edge of the courthouse lawn, lay a stray dog. Scarred. Mangy. One eye clouded over. Locals called him Lucky, a name no one truly believed. He'd been there every day for weeks. He never barked. He just waited. Watching. As if remembering. Judge Tolliver didn't like strays. Especially not ones that lingered near his car. On the third morning, Lucky was blocking the judge's path. Tolliver kicked him hard, right in the ribs. No one stopped him. A clerk flinched. A bailiff chuckled. Damn, it should have moved. Lucky limped away, but didn't run. He never ran. That same week, a man named Devonte Briggs stood trial for a robbery he swore he didn't commit. No priors. A part-time janitor. His prints weren't even on the evidence. But the prosecution was loud, the defense was tired, and Judge Tolliver never looked up once from his notes. "You people always find a way to blame the system," Tolliver had said. "I've heard enough." 7 years. No parole. Devonte's mother collapsed in the gallery. His little sister kept screaming, "He didn't do it." But the judge had already moved on to his next case. That night, Lucky limped around the courthouse steps again. Devonte had fed him once, outside the municipal library. A crust of bread, a soft pat on the head. Just enough to remember a scent. Weeks passed. Tolliver's power grew. He was slated for federal appointment. Magazine interviews. Awards. All the while, Lucky waited. Always in the same spot. Always watching. Until things started happening. The first was the clerk, Sarah Monroe. She quit overnight. Left behind a USB with no note, slipped beneath a reporter's office door. Inside? Surveillance footage Tolliver thought had been erased. Recordings of closed-door sessions. Of rulings made before trials began. Of slurs muttered under breath. And for one moment, Tolliver kicking the dog. Slow motion. Clear angle. The footage went viral within hours. Judge of Justice, Heart of Stone. Tolliver called it slander. Claimed AI editing. Said the video was fake. But the internet didn't care. The mayor didn't either. The press conference was called. He showed up late. Sweating. Then someone mailed a shredded collar to his home. No return address. Just a tag that read, Lucky. Security around his property doubled. Motion lights. Barbed fence. Cameras. Still, he couldn't sleep. The bark of a dog would echo from blocks away, and Tolliver would jolt awake, hand on his chest, thinking the mutt had come back. But Lucky was nowhere. No one had seen him for days. Until the trial reopened. Devonte Briggs filed a motion from prison, with a new lawyer, pro bono. Relentless. She came armed with new evidence, hair fibers on the stolen item that weren't Devonte's. DNA linked to a parolee who was picked up for an unrelated assault just last week. The case was crumbling. Tolliver tried to delay. Recuse. Blame media interference. But it was too late. The courtroom was filled with reporters. Protesters stood outside with signs, "Listen first, sentence later." In the third row? A teenage girl with a shirt that read, "Free my brother." And beside her, sitting oddly still, but someone had let him in. Security didn't stop him. He lay there the whole hearing. Quiet. One eye shut. His body like a living reminder. Tolliver couldn't focus. Every gavel slam echoed wrong. His hands trembled. Sweat dripped from his temple as if something bigger than justice was watching him now. He started seeing Lucky's shadow where it wasn't. Felt phantom paws behind him when he walked. A police report surfaced that Tolliver had struck a suspect back in '93, sealed and forgotten. But Lucky's video unearthed more than pity. It brought scrutiny. When the court overturned Devonte's sentence, the applause wasn't just for justice. It was a funeral dirge for Tolliver's reputation. He resigned 2 days later. Disbarred. His mansion gates chained shut. His neighbors whispered. Emails leaked. Someone filed a civil suit. Devonte filed his own against the judge and the entire courthouse. But that's not where it ends. Because 2 nights ago, Tolliver's car was found abandoned just outside town. The windshield shattered. The interior was torn up. His phone was still recording. The last 30 seconds captured heavy breathing, then pause across glass, and something whispered that didn't sound quite human. Lucky hasn't been seen since. But last night, someone left a mangled gavel on the courthouse steps. And this morning, one of the court's senior judges opened his front door and found deep claw marks across the marble. Beneath them, etched into stone, one word: justice. But not the kind they're used to. The street outside Judge Tolliver's abandoned house had become a place locals avoided. Once it had been the envy of the neighborhood, a manicured lawn, brass gate, a fountain that used to sing in the mornings. Now it wept rust. The house was silent, but people swore they still heard sounds, low growls, pacing footsteps, and one night, a howl that froze the blood of a late-night jogger who would never speak of it again. 3 weeks had passed since Tolliver vanished. No updates. No sightings. Nobody. Just his torn-up car, a phone full of strange audio, and that gavel on the courthouse steps, cracked in two. The media speculated, did he run? Was it revenge? Was the dog just a symbol? But the city of Fairfield had stopped guessing out loud. The silence wasn't just out of fear. It was out of respect. Something was still out there, and it wasn't done yet. Devonte Briggs was home now, free after 4 years behind bars. He walked slower than he used to. His eyes darted around more. Freedom didn't feel like justice. It felt like a second chance to survive. He now lived in a small apartment downtown, above a laundromat that rattled every Thursday night. But it was quiet. And most nights, if you looked out his back window, you'd see a figure lying in the alley, tail still, just watching. But the dog never came closer. Never entered the apartment. But he never left either. Devonte would leave a bowl of food near the fire escape. In the morning, it was always empty, yet no one ever saw Lucky eat. Just that steady, one-eyed stare, like he was guarding something, or someone. Across town, the courthouse tried to rebrand. New posters. Community events. Even murals of local heroes. But every initiative ended the same way. Vandals would strike, but not with spray paint or slogans. Instead, they left paw prints. Real ones. Singed into concrete. As if seared by heat. It didn't make sense. People started seeing the dog in dreams. Bailiffs. Attorneys. Even Chief Justice Harrow. All described the same thing. They were running down a corridor, dark and endless. And Lucky was always ahead of them, just out of reach, leading them into something they couldn't escape. When Harrow was found unconscious in his office, mumbling something about the white eyes in the dark, no one laughed. He retired the next morning. No explanation. Devonte, meanwhile, was filing the civil lawsuit of a lifetime. His new lawyer, Angela Fields, had uncovered more than anyone expected. Not just Tolliver's corruption, but an entire string of backroom deals, ignored complaints, and a judge appointment system built on silence. More names were surfacing. And someone didn't like that. Angela started getting phone calls with no one on the line. Her breaks were cut. Her cat went missing, only to return days later with a broken leg and burn marks. She installed cameras. That's when she saw it. Not Lucky. Something bigger. A man. Standing in the shadows across the street. Night after night. Always in a dark coat, always staring. And next to him, barely visible, was the shape of a dog. But this one wasn't Lucky. It was larger. Taller. Eyes glowing. Watching. Angela brought the footage to Devonte. He didn't flinch. He's not the only one anymore, he whispered. I think Lucky found others. That same night, Angela's apartment caught fire. Arson. Confirmed. She survived, but barely. Her lawsuit files, backups, everything, gone. Except one. She'd mailed a hard copy to herself for safekeeping. Inside that envelope was something extra she hadn't included, a small Polaroid. No return name. Just a photo of Lucky. standing outside what looked like a cabin in the woods. And next to him, Tolliver. Alive. Eyes wide. Mouth gagged. Chained at the ankle like a prisoner. Angela dropped the photo. Her breath caught in her throat. "He's not gone," she whispered. "He's being kept." But by who? Or worse, by what? She traced the photo's background. The trees. The faint outline of a mountain range. Matched it to a region about 30 miles outside Fairfield. Deep forest. Unmapped territory. Government land. No one went out there. Until now. Devonte insisted on going. Angela protested, but he refused. "I was the one they threw away," he said. "If this dog saved me, then maybe he needs saving too." He packed lightly. Flashlight. Camera. Battery bank. A locket his sister gave him. Angela stayed behind, promising to alert the news if she didn't hear from him by morning. Devonte left just before sunset. As he drove into the woods, the signal vanished. His GPS stuttered. At mile marker 49, he found the trail, an old ranger road now covered in vines. That's when the headlights caught something. A collar. Dangling from a branch. Lucky. His hands tightened on the wheel. He parked. Stepped out. And that's when he heard it. The low, guttural growl. Not behind him. Above. He pointed the flashlight upward. Nothing. Just branches creaking. Then a whisper. "He doesn't forget." Devonte spun around. No one there. His breath came fast now. The deeper he walked, the louder the forest got. Twigs cracking. Leaves shivering without wind. Until he saw it. A cabin. Just like in the photo. Smoke rose from the chimney. The door was ajar. He stepped forward, heart thundering. Every inch of his body said turn back. But he pushed the door open. It creaked like something exhaling after being held too long. Inside was darkness. And the smell. Old blood. Burnt wood. What for? Then a sound. But guttural. Justice isn't blind anymore. Then the flashlight flickered out. And all that remained was the sound of chains and breathing. To be continued in part 2.